Welcome to Scanner School. My name is Phil Lichtenberger, and this podcast is here to teach you everything you want to know about the scanner radio hobby. I am thrilled to have you join us today for a very special episode. Today, we are sitting down with Justin Kistner, a dedicated radio enthusiast, experienced storm chaser, and someone who's been passionate about scanning since his teenage years. In our conversation, we'll explore Justin's journey from his very first scanner, a Bearcat BC350A, through the rapid changes in radio technology to the advanced digital systems and DMR radios that he uses today. Justin will share how his love for radio has shaped his career, his storm chasing adventures, and even his day-to-day communications with family and first responders. We will dive into the differences between analog and digital scanning, the challenges and rewards of monitoring public safety communications, and the unique ways that storm chasers stay connected during severe weather events. Justin also offers practical tips for both newcomers and seasoned listeners, covering everything from antenna choices to overcoming simulcast distortion. So whether you're a longtime scanner hobbyist, a tech enthusiast, or just curious about the world of scanner radio communications, you're in for a treat. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an insightful, informative, and entertaining discussion. Let's get started and welcome Justin to the podcast. Justin, thank you so much for being here today and for being a part of the Return of the Scanner School podcast. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's actually a pleasure to finally actually get to speak with you and almost in person.
Yeah, I mean, it's as close as we can get, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are and what you're listening to.
Well, my name is Justin, of course. Been doing this since I was about 14 years old. My first scanner was a Bearcat BC350A, an old analog scanner, didn't have the CTSS and all that as far as the encoding and everything. So basically, if you programmed it in there and somebody was on the same frequency, well, that's how I started out because I always followed law enforcement and had a lot of friends in law enforcement. And they talked my mom into buying me a scanner so I could listen to them. And this was back in the mid 1990s before, digital was, they were discussing the digital age at that time. This before P25, before DMR. And let's just put it this way. The hobby has gotten complicated and expensive since then, but I'm 42 years old now, and I still have some of my older scanners that I had. And now of course I've got the new digital scanners that, like you said, one of your videos you made about how much a scanner costs now versus how much it cost then. And I believe my first scanner, I think we paid roughly about 150 for it.
Okay. That was for the 350, right?
Yes. And I'm down here in the state of Louisiana and everything. And basically what I monitor down here, I monitor because I also storm chase. I'm also a storm chaser.
Oh, you are? Okay.
So, yes. So I monitor a lot of the sheriff's department communications, first responder communications, fire, EMS, and a lot of the Skywarn. And me and my wife, we also have our own radios. We got the TYT UV MD380 DMR capable radios. Matter of fact, my personal radio is also the radio I use at the company I work for, our communications. They use the old FRS, so I programmed FRS into it. And I actually use my TYT as my work radio. And my wife, when we're out and about, we actually are on DMR.
Okay.
We're on the DMR business side on UHF. And might I say the clarity is so much better.
It's different with the digital. See, I like the old analog stuff. To me, it sounds better. And I'm not saying that as an audio snob or something like that. Whenever you get a digital transmission, it sounds like it rolls off some of the characters, and I can tell that's the noise reduction and equalization and whatnot. But
Right, and it has to do with the you got your digital signal processing, all that. It kind of makes it kind of sound a little robotic at times.
Yes. I'd rather listen to static than sometimes the digital transmission.
And that's another thing with this new digital age is the fact that used to on analog, you key it up, you start talking. Digital, you got that like couple of millisecond pause there before you can start talking because the first part of your communication, you don't hear it
Mhm.
because of the fact that digital has to process.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize that. That's why on Motorola Apex radios and stuff like that, and a lot of your P25, when you key it up, you have that radio chirp that gives you what they call talk permit.
Mhm.
That's what that's for. As soon as it chirps, after the chirp, you start talking because that gives the time for if you're on a site system, or even if you're radio to radio, that gives your radio and their radio time to begin transmission and reception, if
Yeah,
that makes any sense.
it perfectly does. It's basically a handshake and we're in
Yeah.
sync together because again, with digital, you have to have a sync and you have to know
Mhm.
the timing so that the zeros and ones can go back together again.
Great.
And if the two radios are out of sync, then there's CRC errors and packet errors, and then nobody's talking to anybody.
And with the old analog, you didn't have all that.
No.
You just had simply, you had, and if he's using a simplex system, it was radio to radio, single frequency. But if you're on a duplex, your repeater and stuff like that, sometimes all you do is key it up. That repeater's automatically catching it
Yep.
before, and there's a slight delay, but it's nothing like delay.
The only delay you'd have really in an analog system is while the voters try to find you or while the PL or DPL code
Mhm.
tries to sample you. And even still,
Right.
that wasn't too bad either.
No. But this digital, because like you said, there's handshaking that's got to go on. And if you're on P25, your whatever site you're trying to communicate with, your radio is communicating with that site before you ever key it up.
Mhm.
And so when you key that radio up, that site is recognizing you. And some of our P25 sites, and I don't know how deep into P25 you've got, but
I'm pretty deep, but you can, I mean, for anybody out there who's not, feel free to explain.
a lot of our P25 systems, especially multi-site, because that's what we use here. Arkansas, the state that I used to live in,
Mhm.
Arkansas was they had 86 sites. And each site actually communicates with the other sites, their neighboring site. And it all comes together at a master server, which is pretty much it's either at the Department of Emergency Management or whoever's in charge of that system, to where they're actually how that server system works. It all combines in there. That's how they do what they call site connect. That's how they do site diagnostic testing and stuff like that. They can tell if a site's gone into failsafe, which is basically if it goes into what they call site only trunking,
Mhm.
to where it's not actually trunking statewide. You're actually just actually transmitting off that one site.
You're on an island at that point.
You are, because when Arkansas was actually going through and upgrading to their phase 2 and stuff like that, they put a lot of their sites into what was called site only, to where only people that were actually able to monitor those departments were close to that one site. And so a lot of them, what they do when they went site only trunking, they actually would revert back to their legacy analog systems.
Okay.
But one thing I do like about P25 is, and I've noticed that because your site has an allotted number of frequencies in there, you got your voice channels, your control channels, and all that. And what we do around here is agencies are, and how it's set up there. If you leave your home area, your radio's communicating with the next site over, and it's authenticating with that site. But what we do here in Arkansas and Mississippi is so you don't get a lot of that site congestion, that what they done with their like their police departments, fire departments, stuff like that, they have actually got it to where their radios are programmed to work off of that one county, parish, the sites within that, and the neighboring sites only.
Hmm.
Now, if they leave and go, like, say, I go from my house here in Kentwood, Louisiana, which is in Tensabault Parish, I leave here and say I go down to New Orleans and I have a P25 radio, but my P25, my top group is only technically set up to work on Pensacola sites, Livingston, which is our neighboring parish. If I go down there, my radio will start communicating with their sites and will authenticate to theirs. And what it does, it basically what we call opens up that site for that top group.
Right. You create like a roaming link, basically. The
Yeah,
talk group
that's all you're
roams
doing.
onto that.
Yeah,
Right.
it does roam. And because I was on a fire department for a little while up in Arkansas, and we were always told that if you leave the county, turn your radio off
Ah,
because what's going to happen if you leave that county and you go to another couple of counties over, you're going to open up that county's sites to our top group, and it's going to kind of creates a little congestion in there.
right, right. Because, right. And to explain it, what happens here is that you're now roaming that talk group onto sites that normally wouldn't carry that talk group. As a
Exactly.
scanner radio user, that's great because
Hmm.
now all of a sudden we can listen to that talk
We
group
can
because it's affiliated
that
on there. But you're right, it's tying up their radio resources
right.
and their voice
Hmm.
channel for that
Right.
talk group. Right. Yep.
And right now, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana does not do voice over control channel.
Mhm.
And some of our sites on our P25 have got 3 to 4 different control channels. You got your primary, and then you got your alternate control channels.
Right.
We don't do voice over control channel.
Oh, so those control channels that are alternate stay idle until it's time
Yeah,
for, yeah,
right.
right. Okay.
So, and thank goodness for some of these newer scanners to where it allows you to, instead of having to have multiple frequencies in there, your voice channel, your control channel. I love control channel only programming on P25
See,
systems.
that's what we differ. See, I always put all the frequencies in just in case for some reason a voice channel happens to become a control channel or things change.
Right.
So
Right.
we had that
Absolutely.
out east from here was somebody reported in like every sixth or seventh day they would lose the trunk system. They couldn't figure out why.
Hmm.
And now it's because in radio reference, one of the channels wasn't labeled a control channel. So their
Right.
scanner was never scanning that other channel when it's turn to cycle through.
Right.
And once they added it in, that's fixed the problem. So but they would roll that control channel
Hmm.
daily. So
Really.
yeah, yeah.
We don't do a lot of that around here. I think just because of the fact of the complexities and everything like that. And I hate to say it, Louisiana's P25 system is becoming antiquated
Mm. But
because
it's a
the fact
statewide
there
system, right?
it is statewide
Yeah, we don't even
system,
have that
but
here.
we are completely statewide.
Okay.
Mississippi is completely statewide. I believe Mississippi's got 180 something sites.
Wow.
Louisiana's got 126 sites. We are completely statewide. Same with the state of Arkansas, completely statewide with our P25 system. One of the parishes next door to me, though, they do have Tailwind, which is what we call it, Louisiana Wireless Integrated Network. And but their sheriff's department and everything, they do have a Elwyn talk group. A couple of, but they still use their old UHF analog.
Gotcha. Sometimes old habits die very hard.
What it is, it's because how Livingston Parish is, the kind of valleys and stuff like that.
Okay.
And you know how P25 works. I mean, it's the sine waves are a lot different than because UHF can bounce through mountains. It can go through, and not only that, the majority of that area, you got rural areas and you got metropolitan areas. So they just still use the old UHF.
Right. So I'm looking here on radio reference and there's Louisiana and I'm trying to bring up the
Hmm.
Elwyn system. And it looks like, right. So part of the difference too is you're talking UHF.
Hmm.
Technically 700, 800 is UHF, but it's
Right.
a different, right. But it's a different animal
Hmm.
altogether. So it would propagate differently. And again, the lower you go
Hmm.
in frequencies, each one has its characteristics. Like you want low
Right.
band for something with mountains and terrain because
Hmm.
it'll do all
Right.
that. So, but like you said, UHF through buildings, VHF is different too. But 700, 800. I mean, we all know we have our cell phones and we go inside sometimes. We go from full bars to one bar,
Right.
and it's the same style frequencies here, or our cell phone is worse than that or higher. So it would be worse as far as what you're saying. So that's again, to realistically put it into somebody's perspective with your cell phone, they're on 800 also, or 600, or 700, or
Hmm.
1900, and same with the trunk system. So that explains perfectly why they would stick
And
to a UHF.
and believe it or not, Tangipahoa Parish, they still have now the sheriff's department is full, full Elwyn. They do use anything. Now our fire departments here, they use Elwyn for all their primary communications, but they still use the analog system and their VHF. They use that for the paging. I mean, they do paging on both. It's simulcast paging setup to where when dispatch tones out, it goes across their Elwyn system and across the analog system. And you can still hear dispatch talking on an analog. You just can't hear the fire department talking back and forth, but you can still hear dispatch.
Right, right. There's a lot of pages is still
And,
analog
and
only. So,
yes,
yep,
yes, they still have some of the old miniature pagers and stuff like that, and a lot of them don't carry like the Unication G5s and all that. They don't have that, so because the analog pagers, they still use the old system.
yep, yep. Makes a lot of sense. So,
And the parish I'm in is a very, very transparent parish too.
well, that's nice.
They they have no problem with people monitoring them because if you scroll down through there and you see the little blue, and I know I may get off topic here, but for our listeners and everything, on radio reference, if you see that top group, instead of it being black and it's in blue, you can click on that and it is an audible link that you can actually sign into your radio reference, sign in to Broadcastify, and you can listen to some of their older recordings, or if they're live at the time, you can listen to them.
Yep, and
And
go ahead.
Tangipahoa Parish sometimes, if it's like that, that means somebody is it's either got a scanner that's connected to their PC and stuff like that, and they're allowing live monitoring.
Right. So
That's
what that
actually
that blue link is actually, it goes to their ingest server, Broadcastify's
Mhm.
ingest server. Oh, it's not exactly a scanner. It's actually software-defined radio running software. It's going to then say, okay, this is the talk group. And what's really cool is the ingest server does what it says. It takes all these voice channels and all this voice activity, and it categorizes it by talk group over time. So what you're doing is when you're clicking on, say, the Louis Armstrong International Airport, for example, here, the Emergency Operations Center, it has a blue hyperlink, a
Mhm.
talk group. When you go over and click on that link through Broadcastify, you're going to monitor just that one talk group. And that's the
Yep.
ability of the ingest server to filter out all the noise of say, like a typical scanner. If we were to just send our scanners to Broadcastify, it's everything we monitor, all the
Mhm.
frequencies, and it's up to us as feed providers to alpha tag these. But through
Yes.
the ingest server, right, all that's taken care of through databases, and it filters it out that way as far as relating the audio file that came in to this timestamp, to this hyperlink, so that you can monitor just that talk group. I mean, that's the level that we are getting at here with live feed servers and the
Yes.
ability to set these things up. So you can almost create your own playlist through Broadcastify if you
Yes.
wanted to.
I had a friend of mine up in Arkansas. He was an actual feed provider, and a lot of his stuff ended up on your police scanner app on your phone and
Mhm.
everything. And what was transmitted out was on there was only like your Benton PD, your well, not Benton PD because they're encrypted, but Benton Fire, State Police Troop A, State Police Troop K, and that's what he had his scanner set to only receive that. And he would put that on there, and in the description, it would tell you that's what you would be actively listening to.
Yep. Yep. Takes a little bit of a different. I mean, it's amazing. Like back when I first started with feeding to my own website, you would just send the audio and
Mhm.
you'd have the live stream. Then eventually I had this program that would route the serial port to a network port, and it would open that up, and then there was another piece of software that would actually listen to that network port, and it would parse the data coming over from the unit and scanner, because every time the scanner stops on something, it
Mhm.
gives a status update over the serial port.
Yeah.
So it knew how to parse that data, and then it would inject that into the live feed as a meta tag. Now we have software that takes care of all that in
All of
one
that for you.
stop,
Yeah.
like Radio Feed or ProScan or something like
Yes.
that. But I mean, back in it, that's what I'm saying. It's amazing how far we've come in radios, in streaming, in technology, and all this other stuff. So there's a lot that has happened. And again, like looping back into what you talked about when we first started speaking with the BC350A. I mean, I have 1 or 2 of those radios, the 350C, I mean, and I look at it going, "For what this thing was," I mean, today it's a paperweight because it's so cumbersome to even set up and use because there's no
It
keypad
is.
on it, and
None.
you have to search through the frequencies in order to stop on it, to program
Yeah.
it in.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, and for you spend $150 on it, then to spend $150 on something today, you get PL code, you have serial data, you have alpha tags, you have I think I said PL codes, but I mean,
You know,
it's amazing.
I mean, I've got an old scanner in my hand, and I don't know if you've seen one of these. You may have had one. It's the radio, one of the Radio Shacks. I want to say it's a Pro 164.
Yep, I
I
have
still have it.
many of those pass through my desk, but have never owned one.
I've got one of the originals in my hand.
Nice.
It was given to me by a friend of mine because I programmed her scanner. She had want to say it was a Radio Shack Pro 651,
Okay.
the one that was actually upgradable to the Whistler software with the
Mhm. Yep,
DMR.
yep, yep.
She had one of those, and she had no use for that scanner. She said it quit working. Well, kind of find out it was the speaker quit working.
Okay.
It dismounted. All I done was open it up, plug the speaker back in. I still have that scanner. I've had that scanner for about 6 years now.
Right. It's a workhorse, and that was one of the first
Mm.
scanners too that you could flash the firmware in it and reband it, so that
Mhm.
would work on all the rebanding, uh
That one was rebanded too.
yep, on the old
I've got
Motorola APCO 16 systems,
mhm.
phase 2
That's actually what I
of type
was
2.
type 2,
Yep.
because that's actually what I used to monitor Hot Springs PD because they were Motorola Type 2.
Yep,
They
yep.
were Motorola Type 2. They were not OmniLink. They were SmartNet.
Gotcha. I know all these different buzzwords and now I gotta think about OmniLink, SmartNet, Smart Zone. I mean, these are all things that we
Om
would talk about all the
now
time.
now OmniLink, now you got me going back to what I this is what I cut my teeth on everything. OmniLink was the precursor to the P25 multi-site statewide system because OmniLink actually was what state police and everything used to connect their sites statewide because they had statewide on their Motorola SmartNet system, but they was running OmniLink
Mhm.
to link everything so Little Rock could hear them.
Right, and you think about it too, like, you'd have cells or segments, right? And it was
Hmm.
this was and then it became bigger, and then OmniLink allowed you to have what? So many smart zone
Hmm.
networks on an
Yes.
OmniLink system, so it was like a
Hmm.
modular piece, like, you'd have a piece of the puzzle, then you create the bigger picture, then you'd have the bigger picture. So, again, now it's all ISSI links and,
Yes.
it's way different.
And a lot of it with P25 and your DMR capacity plus and all
Mhm.
that, your multi-site trunking, some of that site communication and stuff like that is actually done through IP.
Yep, yep,
It's done through internet protocols and everything. So you got that connectivity. That's actually how you run a lot of your diagnostics is through the IP connectivity of it.
right. So, let me ask you a question. So, without I mean, you can answer yes or no. So, um, you you work as a tech on these systems, or you just have
No,
experience from
I
from
I have
monitoring?
experience from monitoring and stuff like that. Matter of
Gotcha.
fact, I had good friends up in Arkansas that worked for Motorola.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean,
Yeah.
you have that other layer of information that either some of us understand as being part of the hobby, or you physically work with the equipment. So that's why I was
I
asking you.
Now I have done my fair share of radio installs
Okay.
because some of the departments that were, especially where I grew up at, I mean, of course, they got their radios. Some of them were professionally installed, but some of your departments didn't have a lot of money to pay for professional installation. And that's where people like me, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I suffer from ADHD and stuff like that. So a lot of things I kind of self-taught and
Mhm.
really got into it. And so I started doing radio installs, troubleshooting and stuff like that. And but it's me having to go to the Motorola dealership to get coax, antennas, and stuff like that. I'd actually start asking questions,
Right.
especially when we started transitioning to the new P25 and all that. I just started asking questions, and I'm like a sponge, especially when it comes to communications. I want to learn as much as I can.
Right. But before we get there, I want to thank my Patreon supporters. One of the benefits of being a Patreon supporter is getting a podcast episode early and even our YouTube videos before they come out, depending on the tier that they are on. And of course, bringing this podcast from an audio only to a video platform such as YouTube would not be possible without the support of our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to help support us over on Patreon, please go to scannerschool.com/Patreon. I'm going to change what you say that a little bit. You don't suffer from ADHD. It's your superpower because
It
it
really is.
allows you that hyper focus on something that you are very interested in for that time frame that you're interested in it. And if you go all in on learning about P25, you're gonna know
Mhm.
everything about it because you're hyper focused on it.
That's another reason why I wanted to come on this podcast because I've seen some of yours where you're talking about simulcast issues and scanners. Well, I have found a workaround for some of your simulcast systems.
Plus,
Scanners, they have an attenuate button. If you are in an area and you're running simulcast, turn your attenuation on. That way, instead of it trying to pick up that site that could be on the same system that could be 15, 20 miles away, because these scanners will pick that site up. But it's always but it's kind of weaker. So you're getting that simulcast distortion. Turn your attenuate button on. What it's going to do, it's going to only want to pick up the strongest signal. So that's going to be that site that's closest to you. Instead of it trying to pick up all the sites, it's actually picking up your local simulcast site. And that does a lot of a lot of that simulcast distortion, the clicks, the pops, and all that. Use your attenuate button.
yep, the attenuate button will. I always equate it to just unplugging the antenna just a little bit on the
Living
back,
piece.
so you got that
Exactly.
air gap in there.
Yeah.
But simulcast is a game of elimination and
Hmm.
not so much everything. And when you're old school like us, you think outdoor antenna. I need to bring the entire world into my scanner radio. But when it comes to simulcast, you want to
You don't
reject the
want
entire world and you just want to listen to
right.
just what you want to listen to.
Exactly.
The problem becomes when I'm trying to listen to my neighboring county and I need the outside antenna. For some reason,
Mhm.
scanner needs the outdoor antenna to be able to pick them up. But when you're
Right.
on the outdoor antenna, then it's too much. But
Mhm.
then so I had the attenuator enabled, didn't work. I ended up putting a 20 dB attenuator, physical attenuator in the
Mhm.
antenna line just on that one scanner, just to knock it down enough to eliminate the simulcast.
And with me, I've got 2 P25 capable scanners.
Mhm.
I've got a Uniden BCD 325 P2 that stays in my house, and I've got the Whistler TRX2 mobile mounted.
Oh, mobile
And
mounted
I
TRX2. Oof.
a TR well, because you had the detachable faceplate.
Yeah. Okay.
I've actually got the brains of it underneath the seat, and then, it runs Cat5 cable to
Yep.
your
Yep.
control lens. So, I mean,
Yep.
it don't matter. I mean, if you decide you want to trunk mount your control, the actual, where the processor, all that's at, the actual scanner part mounted
Right.
in the trunk, you can run 15 feet of Cat5 to your control head And I've got my control head sitting right next to the Chevy Impala, and it's got the what they call it ain't got column shift, it's got console shift. And I've actually got the head mounted right beside my gear shift
Okay.
to where if you ever been in a patrol car and rode with officers, they're all the time sitting there with their hand kind of playing with the volume knob.
Right.
I've got mine set up kind of the same way. That way, all I got to do is reach down there and it's highly visible. I mean, I can see it just fine. If somebody's talking, either I go off of my LED indicator light, you can set different colors on it. That's one
Mhm.
thing I love about that. Or I'll just glance down and look at the display to tell me, all right, that's LSP talking. Because Louisiana State Police down here is wide open.
Right.
They're
Right.
not encrypted at all.
Now, the network down there, remind me again, I'm looking at here now. So there is simulcast though that you're driving through though with that
Yes, I
TRX2
am.
mobile. How is that TRX2 operating and performing in a mobile environment with the simulcast? Because I've always noticed that. I mean, I don't want to knock on Whistler. I like the TRX1 and the TRX2, but I've never really had any luck taking them out and using them in a simulcast environment. Even with all the
I,
tips and tricks, they always seem to be the
now,
first rated to fall on
I,
its face.
I run global attenuation turned on.
Okay.
I actually keep my attenuator turned on
Mhm.
because of how our sites are around here. I'm
Okay.
always close to a site, and I'm not really missing a whole lot at
Okay.
all.
Nice.
And I travel because, matter of fact, I work down by New Orleans, and from my house to New Orleans is 81 miles.
Wow. So you got to
So
commute.
yeah, I commute, and I'm monitoring the whole time I'm commuting.
Okay. Nice.
And basically, and how I got all mine set up is I call my scan list the same thing that they call on the Apex and all your Motorola radios zones.
Mhm.
Like right now, I've got zone 9. All I do is just reach down there on my keypad and I just hit the numbers that I want. Like if I want to go like 1.11.10 will turn on. If I'm going toward Baton Rouge, I'll turn on East Baton Rouge, Lewiston Parish. And I don't have a lot of issue missing things because of how I run my global attenuation stays turned on because of how close to sites I am.
Gotcha. Now, is your antenna outside the car or is it underneath the seat
Okay.
or the
No,
console?
no. I actually have a external professional PC tail
Okay.
low pro because we're 7,800 megahertz.
Mhm.
I don't listen. My handheld is what I listen to analog stuff on because my TYT is programmed to receive analog,
Gotcha.
like Livingston and stuff like that, or whoever's using the analog stuff. I will monitor analog on my handheld, but my scanner is nothing but for the P25. And I've actually got one of those PC tail low pro antennas actually trunk mounted on my car.
Nice. Very nice.
And I found that it works out a lot better because this was one of my first,
Yeah.
this was the actual pigtail antenna
Okay.
that they started using when everybody started going to P25. Motorola had a version of this, Larson had a version, and they're no longer in business because they got bought out. I believe Larson bought them, but it used to be the Antennex Corp. This is one of those. This worked great, but I found out my low pro works out a lot better.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. I think the that one too, not the one you just had up, but the PC tile's got a little bit of gain in it too. So by
It
adding the
does.
attenuation on it, you're negating the gain. So
Yes.
yeah.
And that's one thing I want to tell people that if you have a mobile scanner and you are listening to 800 megahertz P25, even the UHF stuff, those low pro antenna or like pigtail I just had will actually works a lot better than a lot of your multi. Because you go on Amazon, you go or eBay or wherever, and they had these multi-frequency, UHF, VHF, 800 megahertz antennas. You don't need one of those antennas. You need something that's kind of specific to what you want because those multi-frequency antennas, they lose a lot.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm sure you've seen them and stuff like that. They got They got that radiator coil in there, or that, and
Load, yeah. Yep.
you got that load in there, and sometimes that's not what you need. What you need is an antenna that's actually going to be too specific to what you're always listening to.
100%. Yep. Yep. Yeah, you need something that's gonna be, and that's the thing too with simulcast, right? If you pick up like at a, like say you buy a VHF antenna, you could
Mhm.
throw it on there to eliminate it because it's a mismatch, right? So you
It
use
is a
antenna's
mismatch.
physics against itself
Hmm.
to help you out there. But yes, you're right. Buy a specific antenna, and you'll get some gain that way as
Yeah.
well. So, yep, 100%.
Eh, Pretty much it's a game is what you're playing
Yep.
when it comes to receiving.
Yeah.
Now
A lot of
transmitting,
yeah, a lot of the money that you spend on an upgrade, a lot of it should be spent just on the antenna itself. And then,
yes.
yep.
Now, because now when you go to transmitting, that's a whole nother, I
Yeah,
mean, that right there, because that is very antenna specific when
100%.
it comes to transmitting. I mean, Motorola did a great job with their Apex radios. I don't know if you're familiar with the Apex radios.
I am not a Motorola guy. Nope.
When you go to transmit, it's got to be specific to the frequency, the band that you're actually transmitting on. And because I know we was talking about P25 and all that, we was talking about the different systems, and especially on P25, we was talking about the simulcast distortion and all of that, which I mean kind of makes me miss analog a little bit,
100%.
because believe it or not, analog did use simulcast.
Yeah, but it was transparent to the radio because it was an analog
Yes.
signal. It didn't
Yeah.
really, yeah. All you would hear is a slight echo or,
Mhm.
but there's one thing I wanna definitely change topics here really quickly, if you don't
Let's
mind.
go ahead. Go right ahead.
Can you talk about your storm chasing experiences? So let's talk, if you don't mind. What do you use to communicate while you're out there doing the storm chasing?
Now, a lot of us, you're familiar with Zello and stuff like that,
Yep.
cell based. We communicate off of that
Okay.
because cell based, you don't have to worry about the range of your radios, because a lot of us now, if we're close together, we're using our analog radios
Mhm.
and
And what are
stuff
you
like
using as
that.
far as analog goes? You using FRS or using ham or what are you doing?
Some of them will use ham,
Okay.
some of them on the ham band, some of us use FRS or
Okay.
GMRS. We'll use those frequencies and stuff like that. We're not going to be on a channel that mom and dad, the kids are on. We'll find a channel that's not being used. Sometimes we'll go in there and we'll change our PL code and stuff like that. But that's how we actually communicate, is through either handheld or the Zello app. Well,
Yeah.
or like Zello.
Okay. So a lot of
And
it would be push to talk, I guess you could say,
it is push to
over an app.
talk. Yeah. And because I don't know if you've watched Storm Chasers and stuff like
I've
that,
seen. Yep.
you've heard them communicating or anything like that. They're using, I mean, they're using the old analog, uh, uh, UHF. A lot of them don't like, will not use, because of the terrain and stuff like that. They will use a lot of the UHF stuff.
Okay.
A lot of them, and that's what they use is UHF. But a lot of times if they're communicating somebody on, like, say, another county over, stuff like that, because storm chasers are not, they come from other areas.
Hmm.
So their radios might be programmed to their home area. That's why they started using push to talk apps
Gotcha.
to communicate.
And then,
And
so the push
go
to
ahead.
talk apps, I mean, especially with Zello, I know things used to be you'd have a Zello directory and you could see what channels were out there, and
Hmm.
Zello has changed that where everything's all
Yeah.
internal and closed doors now. So
Yes.
if
It's
somebody
private
did
now.
want to listen, they would need an invite, right? Basically an
They would have
invite.
to have an invite.
Okay.
Yes, you would have to have an invite. And there's a new radio system out there that a lot of them are starting to go to, and it is called rapid radios. I don't
Okay.
know if you've heard of rapid
I've
radios.
heard of them, but please
It's it.
describe what they are for anybody who doesn't know. Yeah.
All right, rapid radios is an LTE radio. Basically, the radio itself is about $400. It is not a cheap radio. But instead of using, like say your phone app and stuff like that, to where you have to have Wi-Fi, you have to have your phone plan, how these radios work, they're actually using the cell towers as pretty much encrypted radio sites.
Hmm.
Same encryption that cell phones use and everything like that. So your communication is going to be private, but that's what it uses. And it allows for nationwide, but the cost, I mean, one radio is $400
Right. And is there a monthly subscription for the SIM card
yearly,
activation? Yearly.
yearly,
Okay.
yearly subscription. And I
Gotcha.
can't remember, I haven't really looked into it. I just know they've been talking about going to rapid radios and everything like that. But no, as far as storm chaser, if you're close to them and stuff like that, I'm going to tell you right now, the best thing to do is do a GMRS search, FRS search,
Mhm.
or business band search,
Yep.
and you will be able to listen to their radio to radio communication.
Right. And I'm glad you brought up the business band stuff too, because yeah, a lot of that is available frequencies for anybody to use as well.
Yes.
You have merge channels on VHF
Yes.
and all that. So
And
excellent.
as a matter of fact, that's what they use. They use MERS,
Okay.
they use GMRS, stuff like that. So to all of your listeners and everything, if you were listening to your storm chasers, uh, program your Skywarn nets,
Mhm.
because a lot of them are going to be on Skywarn. That's going to be your ham operators and stuff like that that are also storm chasers, storm spotters. And for your storm chasers like Reed Timmer and a lot of them guys, go ahead and scan and search your GMRS, MERS, and your FRS. You'll find them on there. They are not encrypted. They are old analog. You don't have to have an expensive scanner or anything like that. An analog, matter of fact. One of these old analog BC 75s will pick them up just fine.
Right. Yeah, because it's analog and it's straight
Right.
standard old, you know.
And a lot of them, I don't know as far as what they use for. I don't even think they're worried about the PL tones and stuff. I mean, they may go in there and change them, but if you have an old analog scanner that does not, that doesn't worry about, because it's got an exemption in there to where it exempts out PL and DPL tones and stuff like that. One of them old scanners right there, if they're storm facing in your area, that's your best friend right there. If you actually want to listen to
And a PL code on your scanner is basically just a filter to filter out anything that
them.
doesn't match. So if you don't even have a PL code in there, it's open season. You're
It
gonna
is
receive
with
everything.
season.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Matter of fact, I mean, a lot of people they use what they call carrier squelch and all
Mhm.
that. So
Yep.
it's whatever whatever that radio is transmitting.
Right. Exactly. So very interesting to hear that that's how you guys are communicating now. So
Yes.
it's I never would have thought you guys would have used something like rapid radio where you're falling back onto a cellular network, but it does make sense because you do have that footprint that's
Mhm.
available there. Now when you again, I guess just like Zillow, you would have to have the invite to use that channel
Right,
on rapid
right.
radio, right?
Yes, you would have to have that invite
Yep.
because it's everything now is about privacy and communication.
Mhm.
And that's why they do the channel invites and all that. Because at one time, I'm going to tell you, we when Zello first came out, the biggest inception of Zello was 2017. Matter of fact, August of 2017, Hurricane Harvey. I was down there.
Okay.
I went down there on rescue and recovery over Labor Day weekend. I spent my Labor Day weekend down there with them.
Was that the
Har-
Cajun Navy?
I was actually not a part of the Cajun Navy. I was actually a part of some people that were military and stuff like that. Some friends that me and my wife had actually had met just on Zillow,
Okay.
because my wife was actually kind of helping dispatch out rescue teams from her laptop, because that's when they started doing that crowdsource
Yep.
rescue and everything like that.
Mhm.
That was
Mhm.
its inception, was 2017 for crowdsource rescue. My wife was actually a part of that, and she started dispatching out through Zello while taking care of the kids, pregnant with one of them,
Wow.
and she was actually on her laptop throughout the day and even into the evening time telling them, "Hey, I just got this message. I just seen this pop up. We need somebody to go check here." All that was done through Zello.
Wow. That's amazing.
Zello,
Yep.
and at that time, you didn't have to have an invite. You could
No.
actually search like uh, Southeast Texas Rescue, because that's actually who we were part of, the Southeast Texas Rescue. You could search that. You could actually listen. You could talk back and stuff like that. Then it became so cluttered. And at the time, you could actually create privacy and stuff like that to where people had to have an invite. And then Zello said, all right, everything's got to be by invite only.
I think
This
they
is
kind of did
getting,
that
yeah,
too to make it like a pro level, like you had to subscribe to their
yeah,
platform in order to
you
use it.
did.
Yeah.
You
So,
did.
yep, yep, yep. So they took a
And
really
we
great thing
actually,
and they kind of like cut their own nose off to spite their face, so to speak, because
yes,
they basically said, okay, I mean, I get why they did it, but at the same time, now they pushed users to find some other way of communication. But it's not
mhm.
as popular now because of that. So,
Zello and a lot of us, because I actually took some radios down there because at the time I had some other analog radios, a couple of the Motorola CP185. They're like business radios.
mhm,
And I took a couple of them down there. That way, me and other guys, we could communicate without going through Zello and everybody hearing our communication, unless you had a scanner, of course,
right.
and we're happen to be on our frequency
Okay. And
because
again, it's all
we didn't want
digital and
people.
low latency, and you can share images, and
Mhm.
yep,
But we done a lot of our uh communication, like some of our sensitive stuff was either by phone call or we used our walkie talkies because it was radio to radio and the whole world could not hear that, hey, we just found so and so. Or
right,
hey, we may need to go ahead and contact law enforcement because we're in a situation down here and we didn't want the whole world hearing what we had to say.
right, right. Absolutely. And that's exactly why, you have agencies that go encrypt too, just for that one reason, right? They don't want the whole world to know what's going on. And it's a sensitive area. And, you know,
And now that we kind of brought up encryption,
yeah, we
I'm all
rolled into
for
the elephant.
it. Well, we rode into the elephant, and I agree with encryption. I really do, but not on your everyday talk groups
I agree.
because with the radios, how they're made nowadays, it's real easy to switch over to another channel or turn your encryption on, turn your encryption off. I don't. I love it how a lot of departments have what they call their private channel, their tactical channels, and stuff like that. Or where I'm from up in Arkansas, you had CID encrypted, and a lot of them will go to their encrypted channels when they're doing operation. But their day to day, daily operations, they're dispatching out to a fight, they dispatch out to a wreck, or they're dispatching out to a burglary in progress. All that was done on the dispatch channel and everybody could hear it.
Yep.
Now, if they arrived on scene, barricaded subject, all units responding, please switch to so and so channel and go secure. And well, then we'd lose that. But we already knew what was going on. And we knew why they were encrypted. But
Well,
a lot of
even
that time,
still, you could even get over the clear too, like all units look at your CAD for
yeah.
assignment or something like that. And then again,
I,
that would be a way of saying, hey, everybody get
well,
notified to go here, take a look, and then they would know why they're transferring over, but we
mhm,
wouldn't too. So, I mean, before our local police department went encrypted, that's they would send anything that was sensitive over their MDTs or the
yeah.
CAD.
Matter of fact, that's what Garland County, Arkansas does, and that's what they do a lot down here. You'll hear them on the radio say, "Hey, officer so and so, check your notes,
Or I mean,
check
like
your
you said
chrono."
before, it's very simple just to enable encryption. They can push the
Hmm.
red button, to
Yeah.
enable encryption on that transmission, and then they could
Hmm.
encrypt the dispatch. Just
Yeah.
that one sensitive too. So yeah, I think I agree. We don't. you don't really need to encrypt the fact that there's a minor traffic accident on Elm and
No.
Main, or that there's a cat stuck in a tree, or that, something that's going on like that. But yeah, if there is an active shooter situation, or if there's something that does require that elevated, even running a license check or a VIN check or
Hmm.
something like that, right? Roll it over to a tactical channel, roll it over to an admin
Right.
channel that is encrypted. But again, but it's I understand it for the officer safety. I understand it for
Oh
end
yeah.
user confidentiality, because I wouldn't want my personal information broadcast over the
Right.
air for my address and my license check and warrant check and all that stuff.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
there is a use case on both sides, so I think we can leave it at that, right?
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, me and my wife, our radios on our channels that we use, we are using privacy key on DMR
Okay.
because sometimes we have our kids and stuff like that, and we don't know who all has DMR capable scanners and stuff like that. We're out and about, and I tell her, "Hey, I need you to come here," or "Hey, watch out for so and so," because a lot of times we go to events and stuff, and if I see something suspicious or she sees it, and we don't want people hearing what we're saying
Hmm.
because usually sometimes it involves one of us making a phone call to law enforcement. And a lot of people, DMR is a lot easier than P25 because a lot of it's just single frequency,
Yep.
receive, type it in there, make sure you got your color code and your slot right if you're using a repeater. And a lot of scanners, you can actually program in there where it ignores that
Yep.
and will find it for you.
100%.
But
Yep. That's
we
usually
we we use it just because it's kind of sometimes we use our radio like we use our cell phone
okay.
because it's simple, push to talk.
Right. Right.
And we don't have to fight to get our phones out of our pockets, her to get her phone out of her purse. It's one of those radios right there.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the good
And
old days of just having communication on your hip became unlocked with the face, or use your thumbprint,
yeah.
or
And the crazy thing is I'm not even a ham operator or amateur radio or anything like that.
Okay,
I've been infatuated with radios since I was a child.
gotcha.
I mean, come on, my first walkie-talkies I had when I was younger were about that big, and they were in the VHF low band,
Did you have those?
you know?
I had those Fisher Price ones with the
Yes,
little Morse code display on the front, and
yes,
yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah,
I had those too, and they used the old, either
27
they either
megahertz, right?
27
Yep,
meg, and then they went up to like the 49 meg and stuff like that, and the
yep.
VHF low band, and
The best part about those were if you got too close to like the Motul cars that used to be down in 27 megahertz too. You
mhm,
could jam them stuff.
yeah,
You
yeah, you
could
can
jam
yank
the
them loose.
signal.
Yeah.
So yep, yep. That well, hold on a second. I got a pager going off behind me. It's gonna be noisy for a second.
Oh, that ain't noisy in here. Remove that.
It's 12 o'clock already, so they're doing their daily.
We do ours at 8 o'clock.
They do noon and 7. But there's something wrong with the repeater. I can hear the audio's all messed up. That should be silent.
Well, a lot of ours down here, we do ours at 8 o'clock in the morning. One
Okay,
at 8 o'clock in the morning, then do another one at 6 o'clock in the evening.
gotcha. Yep,
And
they like to use their frequencies around here.
well, and another way you could tell a repeater's messing up,
Mhm.
going down, listen for the beat. If there's been a big storm or anything like that, a lot of our repeaters, especially where I actually grew up at, our repeaters would beep at you
Mm.
whenever they're talking and stuff like that. You're beep, beep. That lets you know that that repeater was on auxiliary power and it was about to die.
Yeah, that was his last heartbeat before it flatlined. But yeah, you have the ringback tones
Yeah.
also, and yeah, there's a lot of different secrets that are out there. So I know we've been going for quite a while
That,
here.
that
Is there?
I really don't have anything else unless you do.
No, this was good. I really enjoyed we went quite a bit. We had a nice little talked about P25, and we talked about some of the old legacy systems with the Type 2. We talked about how you storm chase, and interesting to hear that you're using a lot of the voice over IP solutions, or the LTE as a backbone, as opposed to just
Yes,
straight RF. So that's definitely interesting. But hey, if you're up for it, we'd love to have you on again to talk more about
absolutely.
the storm chasing and the experience of storm chasing, and how you prepare,
Absolutely.
and how you set up for that, and then the communications, and maybe some stories that you may happen to have about like we talked about in the past about Hurricane Harvey, and some other things that you guys have done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll even see if I can upload some of the photos and some of
Okay.
the things that I've gotten when I was down there and everything.
Excellent, Justin. Well, again, thank you for spending some time with us today, and sharing a bit about your background, and even a trip down memory lane with the
Mm.
BC 350, the TRX2, which I mean is still current, but and then even that Pro 164. So makes you want to grab the Pro 163 out of the closet, and fire it up again.
There you go, man.
All right, Justin, thanks again for being here. Justin, thanks again for being a part of the Scan Nerd community, and for coming on to this week's podcast. It was an honor to have you here, and I look forward to having you on again to possibly diving into some other topics, or even more details about your storm chasing experiences. And if you would like to be a guest on this podcast, please go to our website over at scannerschool.com and look for the podcast link and be a guest. Or check out the link in the description. We'll catch you all again next week. 73.